cameras. Where's my camera pointing at? Yeah. That's why I have my background there. Helps me align myself. Align my chakras, so to speak. Alright. Are we live? Restream thinks we're live. Twitch thinks we're live. And YouTube also thinks we're live. Welcome to Coding Hangout number 250. I called it tax code. I'm doing 5 years worth of taxes, and I'm writing some scripts to help me with doing that. And I want to do some other things, but I gotta power through. I gotta keep going. So what I'm doing at the moment is I created PDF files for invoices, and I think I collected them all for expenses, at least not income yet. That's for a particular VAT year, which goes like September to September, 24 through 25. That's what I'm working on at the moment. And now I want to build a script that takes these and generates a CSV file that I can then open in Google Sheets. And it needs to do a couple of things. It needs to add some information regarding currencies and VAT rates, according to a list of vendors. So earlier today, I wrote the script that basically loads all these files, parses the file names to extract certain information, like the date. It converts the things to amounts and stuff. So what I want to do now is I want to figure out, so this is just an example of like one of these, but I want to now get the vendors out of it. So for example, I have an invoice here, and I'm just going to get the vendor name, and the vendor name is just a label I've taken that isn't in here. Oh, because I changed it to be capitalized for later output. Oh, that's going to be a pain in the ass if I'm processing these yet. Because I labeled them for later CSV output, but I'm tempted to maybe keep these lowercase. Yeah, you know what? We just don't do this yet. So, these are the vendor names. Let's get them sorted and unified. So, we'll do a new set, which is just a cute little shorthand to get a turn an array into a list of unique elements, and then we can just turn it back into an array doing this. And we should now get an array of just the unique items, and then we can sort it to get an alphabetical listing. So these are all the vendors that are in here. And what I want to do is I basically want to make a list of these vendors. And so let's do this. We'll put this script up here. And then we'll just say, okay, let's save these as oh, hey Keith, how are you doing? No, I did not see that yet. Unless it was in the newsletter, then I probably solved it without checking the title too closely. Yeah, I think the US just had their sort of tax season. All right, what am I going to do this? I'm going to call this vendor info.njs, I suppose, or to JSON. I think that's what we'll do. We'll recall it, right? And what we're gonna do is, I guess we'll make it an object where each vendor, so for example, AA, has some properties, kind of something like this, right? And the properties would be to say, actually, before we do this, let's see how many there are for each of these vendors. So let's do this. Vendors, right? And then we'll go, we'll make a little loop for const vendor of vendors, right? Console. So that should do this. And then for each vendor, we count how many invoices there are with that vendor, right? So we'll do invoices.filter invoice.vendor equals vendor, and then we'll just want the length of that list. So, because what I actually want to do is just pick one, like start with a vendor. Okay, so the goal is that this information is per vendor. So if there's, for example, because I have some vendor labels that do different things that are kind of catch-alls. For example, YouTube is a combination of YouTube Premium, of YouTube Super Chats, and I don't know if there's other stuff in there as well. So I have to be careful. If any of them have a mix of, let's say, Euro or US dollar invoicing, or in EU versus outside of EU, like I might have a generic travel. I think I'd called one conference. So I need to be careful, and I have to split them up, right? So for example, when I was at SudokuCon last year, I ordered some microphones from Amazon US, Amazon.com, in US dollars, which obviously is different than when I order things from Amazon Germany, because there's no local Amazon here, and the UK is no longer in the EU. I used to order from Amazon UK, but that's now more complicated. So, and then for example, all the ones that have one, those are generally yearly or bi-yearly invoices. So for example, I pay once per year to Dropbox, I pay once per year to Photopea, TinyURL, Workflow. These are all yearly bills. Then Go, that's my ISP, so that's a monthly. Epic is my phone. I'm not on a contract, but I roughly pay once per month, so a little bit, you know, I had extra fill-ups. I bought additional credits before I travel, for example. AWS is the hosting cost, so there's 12 of those. And then these are just tech purchases, mostly like cables, adapters, lots of little things. Annoyingly, they split orders up into multiple invoices, and often it'll be one PDF with multiple invoices inside of them. So that was a huge pain in the ass to deal with. Epic, yeah, that's my mobile provider. G Suite is my email? No, because I have multiple emails, so that should be more than 12. Unless all my email addresses are on the same contract. Let's have a quick look at one of these G Suite. Because I felt like there should be more than 12. So if I look at one of these invoices. So that's for svencodes.com. So it's not per seat, I think, because I have Sven at svencodes.com and I have sudokupad.com email addresses. Unless those are paid under a different label. There's a Google label, but it only has one in here. Huh. Curious. And YouTube, I have 2 accounts, which makes it 24, and then I think I had 1 super chat. I don't want to look into this on stream because I'm already probably revealing more than I ought to. But for now, let's start with some that are that I have a lot of. Let's start with the Amazon DE, because those should all be so the Amazon DE ones should all be what's the word? They should all be in euros, and they should be all within EU, right? So my accountant told me they wanted something called a classification, and I did something like that because originally when I started working on this, I started from my bank statements. And I basically now I have a script that sort of tries to match up the invoices with bank statements. So because I don't, you know, I haven't collected invoices correctly and so on. So basically I said, okay, everything that was charged to my 2 bank accounts, that's basically everything I spent. Find invoices that match those. And if you don't have them, look them up, right? And that's kind of when I said, okay, there's a bunch of stuff that's monthly. There's, for example, my Apple developer bill. There's some stuff that I might not have remembered, Amazon US. That's American Airlines. That's the flights for SudokuCon, for example. GoDaddy, these are domain name charges. It's curious that's 4, because I definitely have more than 4 domain names. But some of them I think are every 2 years. I don't know if it's smart or stupid. I should probably not bring up my GoDaddy account on stream, but there's nothing crazy in there, I hope. Let me have a quick look. I'm signed in. My products. No, renewals and buildings, I think I want to look at. And I'll be honest, there's some domain names in there that I have been paying for probably 10 years for, like, there was a video game I wanted to build, you know, before my last studio job, and I find it hard to let go. So there's a couple of things in there that I'm probably paying $20 a year for that I probably shouldn't. I don't know if subscriptions is what I should be looking at. Okay. So, okay, so these are the domain names. Can I see order history? So I'm looking, the date period we're looking at is September 24 through end of August 25. So let's see if I can just... okay, that goes pretty far back. So that's fewer than I would have thought. So hopefully I've been smart and have paid multi-year subscriptions, things like that. So what did I say? Up to 31st/08/25. So that's the most recent one. And then the earliest one for the time period is 1st of September 24. So it would be these 5, except this one is 0, which I guess it's a service that doesn't actually cost anything. So that's just the 4. Okay, so that's the 4 invoices that we see over here. All right, cool. All right, so let's start with something like Amazon. And we washed Toby today, and I've been trimming his hair a little bit because it's time for a spring haircut. But now there's little bits of Toby fur flying everywhere. They get super floaty when they're like cut into shorter bits. Otherwise, they tend to more collect into balls on the floor. All right, so what I want to put into this is we want a currency. Because if the currency is not euros, we want to convert it to euros. Now, originally I tried to calculate the exchange rate because I was working from the actual payments, but now I want to work purely from the invoice. And my accountant told me that the government doesn't actually care about the money I pay. So they will use, like, if it's the invoice is in US dollars, they don't care what I actually paid in euros. They'll calculate their own number from some sort of government standard index exchange rate. So if my own exchange rate is better or worse, it's actually tough on me, or it's like screw me basically, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I mean, they're like, you know, I've often been thinking about just going completely public and making completely open books and stuff. But then, like, at the same time, I don't want people to tell me, hey, you shouldn't have spent $250 on that USB-C to USB-A converter or something like that, you know? So I haven't done so yet. And it's also like, it would be different if I was, let's say, purely Patreon funded, but Patreon is a relatively small corner of my income. So if everything was funded by Patreon, but to be fair, I'm not a businessman, so I'm not very good at this stuff. Hopefully after this sort of organization process in the future, I'll be able to more cleanly separate the Sudoku Pad business from anything else I do. And then it's much easier to say, oh, let's just be public. Here's the money coming in, here's the expense and stuff. So the problem is, like, people say, oh, you know, let me help you with the server costs, but it's the raw server costs aren't the problem. The problem is my time and my efforts and my energy. Like, yes, it'll cost me $100 a month more to get the bigger server, but what it's really going to cost me is the energy and effort to the transfer, to check everything, to make sure, you know, to protect it, that everything works smoothly and all this sort of stuff. So anyway, so we want a currency. So then we have a flag is EU. So we'll say is EU is true, right? Exchange rate won't apply because I'll just leave it in that currency. And I think VAT rate will be now. Oh yeah, I wanted to look up where I had prior done this. Ah yeah, so we have a VAT rate of 18%. That's 0.18. And we have a classification of, I don't know, equipment, I guess. So we had equipment, we have a VAT rate, and this was just if it was EU or not, and then I figured the rest from that, I guess. All right, we'll just have to see if we come across something where the currency is different. So for example, the Amazon US one, I'm pretty sure that'll be in US dollars, and that was for the for these little headphones that the microphones that Ranks used to record a live stream during the conference, actually. Yeah, he's not so happy about the shower as such. And Greta did it in my shower basically. So he has nice warm water. But he seems to really love like afterwards getting fussed over. Because then we'll like wrap him in a bunch of towels, and he's rolling around his back, and he's running in circles, and he loves being scrubbed and rubbed with the towels. He loves his towel time. And then when I started cutting his fur, he really relaxed. Like he seemed like I think any kind of grooming interaction he just enjoys. Like he enjoys the feeling of somebody taking care of him, and I really don't blame him. I really don't blame him. All right, so we have Amazon D. Now let's do Amazon US. So Amazon US will be in US dollars, right? It'll be false for the EU. Now the estimated tax to be collected, I don't know if my tax department cares about that. I think that just says for VAT that's 0. Classifications, that's not how you spell classification. Equipment. All right, so we have these two right now. So let's load in our vendor info. I guess we can load that in at the top. Oops. So vendor info equals require dot slash vendor info dot JSON. That should JSON parse it, right? Let us do this. Let's do something like let's do this. Amazon US. So that's just one vendor, right? And we're gonna let's just do this. Right? And then we'll just output the invoices for now, because we know there's only one. And we'll skip this. All right, so that's our invoice. So now we want to expand these rows using our vendor info. And this is the thing that I was trying to use to do so. So I guess we can just do this, right? So we can just do this. We know it's just one. We'll run it through our expansion function. Right. Now, the expansion function currently just relabels some things. But now we want to look at the other stuff. So I think the expansion functions is just a relabeling. I'm just thinking like, okay. Because what I could do is I could say something like vendor info invoice, right? And then we can say can do this vendor info vendor, right? Then we can pass that into our expand blah 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 function, right? Which does this. And now in here we can say currency is, so we can now also do the relabeling here, and we can say vendor info dot currency, right? And then it'll add USD here, for example. We don't have an exchange rate. And then we'll say VAT rate. And I don't think we'll calculate the amount here, because we can do that in the spreadsheet. I think we'll just do this like that. VAT rate 0. Yes. And then VAT amount we're not gonna do here. And then we'll just have classification. So we have classification, which is some sort of structural label that they're using. Oh yeah, and the is EU, right? So is EU, and we'll just this is EU, boom. So is EU would be, I guess I can convert it to the words yes, comma, no. Something like that. Not a comma, like that. So we have EU no, okay. And now on top of this one, let us hide all these. And then just do Amazon US and Amazon DE. Now Amazon DE has a couple more, but we're just looking at the first invoice. So Amazon DE has classification misspelled. Fair enough. Okay, so now we have this expanded row. Cool. I think vendor info here's a global, so we probably want to just do invoice.vendor like that. Vendor like that. Like that. Like that. And like that. And then we don't need that. And then we don't do that either. Now it's just that. And it'll still be correct. We have euros and US dollars. And then this invoice, so if we look for this one, Amazon DE, or we can look for this invoice number, for example, because all of that comes from the file names. So if I put that in here, don't get a match. Oh, I should get a match. Maybe Google search, Windows Explorer search is just so bad. Okay, what if I search for just that last 5-digit number? Why is this clicking? Why is this on Linux? Amazon D. Okay. DS dash A. I think it reads the dash as a minus sign. Oh my god. Okay. Wait a second. All right, that's really dumb. Sorry, but what the hell? I'm gonna actually look that up. Wait. Close that. Windows Explorer. How can I search for a part of a file name that contains a minus symbol? Like, it doesn't seem to do a straight up search. Report dash final. Only to know before. Okay, that's a bit weird. So in other words, if I put asterisks around this, no, but that still doesn't do it. These are use wildcards before and after the part of the file name containing the hyphen. If you're looking for report final type, if you only know the part before or after the dash, use part after. Use a literal syntax. Wait, what? Report dash final asterisk. If you're looking for report final.doc, that doesn't seem to work at all. All right, let's see what the internet has to say. Use asterisk or double tilde in order to search for a substring in the file name. It must put the asterisk or tilde in front. Hence, in order to have Windows find myfile.txt, you must search for asterisk file or file, not file. As a containing. In file name. Hence, searching for a file. Okay. So we have asterisk. Now that has changed because if I just put asterisk ds, it works. But if I put a dash there, it doesn't. If I do tilde, then it does. Okay. So if we go back to this, I guess the double tilt will do the trick. So if I put that here, yeah, okay, now it finds it. All right. Something new I learned. All right. So this is one of these invoices. Why did I want to go here? Oh yeah, I want to look at VAT rates. So these are 18%, and I think they always are from Amazon Germany, because I don't have a business Amazon account set up yet. So that's just a regular Amazon account, and I pay the VAT, and I should be able to claim it back. All right, fair enough. So the other thing I want to look at is these are some files I'd done in the past, and we had date, amount, currency, amount. Yeah, because here I had both currencies and I did conversions because I had the exchange rate included. But I want to skip that now. So in theory, I'm trying to think what the order should be. So we have date, invoice number, amount. Maybe the invoice number should be first. Amount, vendor. I think invoice number. Maybe date, vendor, invoice number, amount, currency, VAT rate, currency, EU, VAT rate, classification. So this order, right? And then if I throw, if I do this, for now, one sec. Invoices. So this vendor info, dot currency, vendor info, invoice dot vendor currency. Undefined is not an object. Ah, okay, fair enough. We need to filter by these. So we want to do dot filter invoice this dot includes invoice dot vendor. I don't want to just do all of them right away. We'll just do this. Right, so we have a bunch of Amazon DE ones, and now if I run this through 2CSV, it should clean it all up into a CSV format, which I might have to include. CSV, yeah. I have used this here. It looks like this. Ah, no, okay, that's just a helper function I needed to include. All right, so we need this, and it'll get me undefined row to date. Does that mean? It looks for something actually called date. I think what we actually then want to do in preparation for the CSVification, we actually want to turn the date to an ISO string like that, and then we don't actually need to do this. In fact, we'll just skip the call to 2CSV for now, because what that was supposed to do was basically convert the dates to date strings. CSV rows. Expected but found invoice. Wait, what did I do wrong? Vendor. We need a comma here. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Does that look like CSV data or not? Okay. Now it includes the time, but the time is always going to be 0. So we don't want to include the time. So we want to slice We want to slice the first 8, 9, 10 digits, and we don't need to take the time off. I think that's our thing. All right. And then what did I do previously? So after I executed to CSV, I ran it through save data. All right. I'm just gonna, for now, just manually gonna save it. So we're gonna save it as, I think we have outpath in config, sure. Our file name is just gonna be test01, and we're just gonna output the file name. And we did something wrong somewhere. 73. Outpath, config, path join, invoices, outpath equal config. What am I not seeing here? Yeah, we have this. All right. Outpath, path must be a type string, got undefined. Outpath is not in config. Why is it not? I don't know. Wasn't that over here? And I just removed it. Ah, because that's old code that wasn't working anymore. All right, so I want this to be out. Boom. Right. And then we're just gonna say await write file fn csv invoices. Right? And then we'll just say console.log. Okay, we're not gonna say that, we're just gonna say this. Done. It's gonna be a short stream, by the way, because I really started too late. Does this do something to invoices that won't let it do it again? I think so. So if I do this and I run and I output invoices afterwards, and if I output invoices, if I do this and this, do they look different? Can I execute this again? Yeah. Oh, because I did that. Okay, it had nothing to do with that. Okay, I thought the CSV function was manipulating the object that gets passed in. Let me see. Write file. I don't feel like thinking too hard, so I'm just gonna make sure it does this. Okay. No such file or directory open, blah blah blah. To write in relative to the current. Is it dir name or something? Node.js, I think it's dir name something. I'm just gonna Google this quickly. Node.js current script directory. Dir name, just underscore lowercase. All right. I think for a second my brain went back to my PhD days. All right. So if I do this, that'll do it? Question mark? Let's find out. All right. It wrote something. Okay. If I go into Google Sheets and create a blank spreadsheet, can I just drag it? No, I think I have to go import, upload, and then can I do this? Nope. I need to open containing folder and drag it in here. And Replace spreadsheet. Sure. Let's see if that works. All right. Vendor. Amazon US is here. I wonder if there's more I can manipulate with the formatting. But for now, because what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like to be able to clean up the formatting now and then re-import the data without screwing up the formatting. Let's try that. So let's say I do this. I bold this. I say few freeze one row, and then I'll say amount, format, number, blah blah blah, custom currency. Cheer. Can I okay, so how can I format Google Sheets amounts according to another currency column? That's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So if I have a second column with like Euro and USD in it, I don't know why it gives me Excel instead of Google Sheets, but that's whatever. A and B. Then it creates a new column. Yeah, so using Google Apps Script dynamic formatting. So okay, so we could have an app script that checks the currency. Range get value. Offset changes format on the cell to the right. So this does dynamic formatting. Let's try it. I'm not super fond of these because obviously you create a new sheet, it won't work anymore. But I think if I do, does it tell me where exactly the script? I always forget. Extension app scripts, extensions, app scripts. And for some reason, I find it always very sluggish and slow. Like, what the heck, right? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Nope. Okay. So if I take that, do that here, double check things, range offset, get column. So our column is 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say 4. Unedit. Definitely did not run. Ah, do I have to press deploy? Run. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading source. Sheet. E.source get active. Can I just press deploy? New deployment. Oh, do I have to do like a bullshit app thingy? Okay, wait. Oh, I hate that stuff. Click the save icon, refresh your sheet. So, save icon. Where's the save icon? Unedit. Save project to drive. See formatting. Alright. Save to drive. Okay. And then what am I supposed to do to activate it? Save icon, refresh your sheet. How do I refresh my sheet? If I press F5, is this gonna wipe things? Well, that doesn't seem to work. Also, why did this close? View logs, run button in the toolbar. But it needs to be running relative to this. App scripts. Add-ons. How do I know? Click the save icon, refresh your sheet. Now change the value in column A. Click the save icon. Alright, let's see what the AI has to say for itself. I opted for the app script, but nothing happens. How can I check the script is running? let's see if it can figure that out. Check, this is the dashboard, blah, blah, blah. Failed status, execution look. Looks like a play button with a clock list. Look at the interest named on edit. If you look at the left-hand sidebar. This is the dashboard, blah, blah, blah. Check in the app scripts editor. Look at the left-hand sidebar. Click the executions icon. There's no executions icon. Left hand, oh, okay, here we go. Executions. Deployment, start time, on edit, editor, failed. Reader property undefined, reading source on edit. But that was before a while ago, right? What's the other? Even though on edit is a simple trigger that doesn't usually need permission, scripts that modify sheets formatting often need a one-time allow you. It hasn't run, comma, how can I get it to run on the existing data? Because it's probably expecting me to type something in. To run the script in existing, you need to add an on-one-off function to your project. The on-edit function only works for new changes moving forward. It doesn't look back at what's already there. This is a different function. Can't it execute the same code so I don't have duplication? All right, let's try. So if I go back to the editor, I put a run on existing, I have this, apply currency. All right, GBP I don't think will be applicable. Now, what I don't know is if his new on edit is garbage. E.range, okay. Yeah, you see it does different things all the freaking time. Like sheet here, he doesn't even use it. This is just silly. Also, different format from here to here. Like, I don't understand why the AI would even do that. Like, it's just dumb. It's what a junior would do, and I wouldn't appreciate it from a junior either. So I have to do this. Get range, data length, value from column A. It's not in column A. But this one is zero based, I think. It's different. Wait. You are using different methods to access columns. They're all wrong. Wrong, because that's not where my data is. I mean, it's just doing stupid stuff, right? Now, one thing I care about is, did it say how to get the run on existing to run? Make it a button. If you want to run it easily future without the script. So, how trigger, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so run on existing. Can I... So we want to get rid of this. And then we want to run... And we want to see execution lock. So run on existing. Again, why would it be so slow? Why would it take so long? So this should be 4. So run. Why would it take so long? Ah, okay. So now it's going to ask for the permissions. Yeah. Oh my god, this is so much bollocks just to run a little bit of a script to prove your thing. Undefined reading range. Get range. A to B. A to B. A to B. No. A. No. D to E. D. D to E. Okay, so then these need to be 0 and 1. Alright. And now run it again. Undefined reading range. Cannot read properties of undefined reading range. Line 12. Why are you executing on edit? I did not tell you to execute on edit. Run this one. Okay. Did it format? Nope. Um, Zero, 2, 0, 2. Okay, this formatting is correct now. No, it's still not correct. All right, let's just no, wait, okay, 1 second. I said blah 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 to make the script work regardless where data is. We can use dynamic header search instead of guessing column names like 1 and 2. The script will now look for specific column names, currency and amount, and find them automatically. And it's changed it all again. It's like now it's added Japanese yen. Why did you change the format code again and change which currencies are supported? Why is there no consistency? Work is useless without consistency. Like, you can't just change what you do every time you do it. That means you either did it badly before, you're doing it badly now. The problem is, what I hate about these scripts, it doesn't let me easily, debug what's going on, right? So if I say console.log data, like if I run this, does that actually output something? No. How can I debug this? Where can I log something? Logger.log, all right. Like, how am I supposed to know that, right? Like, that's obviously the question that I'm asking. That's what it's about. Right. Logger.log does not seem to work either. Stop changing the code. Every time you change the code, comma, it either means you gave me bad code before, comma, or now, comma, either way it's untrustworthy. Only fix the issue, comma, do not change anything else without reason. Five in this specific line. Okay, so why is it not relative to the range given? So it now says, okay, now it wants sheet get last row, D2B, sheet get last row, okay. Get values. Again, now it's changed its... Ugh. So it changed range and made data separately. Okay, because it reuses range. All right. So var range. I hate using somebody else's code editor that doesn't react to keyboard shortcuts the same way as mine. All right, so now we can do data here. These should all be const. Boom, boom. Right. So now we can do range. It's removed, it's ignored my thing, okay. Data I0, and then we should say range dot get cell I plus 1 2 symbol mount cell. Okay, so save this, run it. Okay, still does work. So what do we have wrong? All right, current code, please pay attention and don't keep changing things. It does not work. How would it know what the current sheet etc is, when executed from the code editor? Do I really need to tell it to not make mistakes? Because it just keeps making mistakes. Reference, you wrote data equals, it must be data equals range.getValues. Okay, fair enough. But why does it not show up as an error? Like, data doesn't exist. Why doesn't that throw an error? That's so dumb. And nope, still doesn't work. Logger will just print range. Yeah, so you're wrong. Logger doesn't log anything, and changing the data dot to range dot also doesn't change anything. So click, so save the script, go to your spreadsheet and go and make sure that is one character visible on your screen. Okay, so we're here, sure. Now if I run, no, doesn't do anything. You see blah blah blah, if you see it, no. So none of those things work. The issue variable name is your user data, but the variable data doesn't exist yet. You must use range. Oh my god. I literally just I just told you I made that change and you ignored that. Also, logger doesn't log anything. So, while might still fail when running the editor script, use whichever tab is currently in your screen. In the spreadsheet, if you have a blank tab open, get last row, return 0. Does not slide up automatically. Click run. Execution. The execution log is open. It shows the notices for starting and completing execution. I told you it doesn't log anything. Believe me what I tell you always. God damn it. The stupid AIs. Why does it always evolve with me yelling at the clouds? Most recent row in that list. Why is someone do nothing? Return 0, which appeared, blah blah blah. Why nothing is logging? Sheet last is 1. If the execution log says it's started and complete but shows no data, the script is run but isn't finding any data rows to process. Sheet dot stop. Come on. Why does logger.log x also not work? It cannot depend on anything else. So, and let's double check. Logger.log x or c or whatever. God damn it. X, right? So if I do this and I say run, nothing. If logger is not appearing when your most is that your script project is not using the Chrome V8 runtime. Yet is disabled. Logger does not output the execution log window. It only goes to a temporary non-persistent view logs. There's new versions of the editor. Switch to console.log. God damn it! And I did console.log also. Console.log. So if I open the actual console, so if I press F12, right? And now we do this. And now I say run. Nothing. Means resolution. Switch. Unlike the logger, console.log on the monitor stand designed to output directly. Yeah. Console.log also does not do anything. Check the all levels filtering. All right, ensure. So, project settings, gear icon on the left. Log icons to cloud logs. Enable Chrome v6 8 runtime is checked. If already checked, uncheck and recheck. Okay. Already checked. Check all levels filtering. Where? If the execution says filter to top, your side standard, should the filter set to all levels or info? No. So, executions, unedit, head by current, blah blah blah. No logs, failed. Okay. And if I look at this one, and I say run, and this line did okay, blah blah blah. Because you called data before it was defined, the script stopped immediately. No. No. This is the code, you're still presuming it is wrong, when it is not. Like it's so, yeah, it's so unable to admit it's wrong. But even if it is wrong, it'll tell you, you stupid idiot, you did the thing I just told you. And their script engine sees a comma at the end of a line. Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously, it doesn't allow multi-line code? Are you kidding me? That is so dumb. I don't fucking believe it. Sorry. Excuse my French. Nope. You are wrong. Changing the correct comma separated const lines into separate statements makes no difference and should not, as the above was already correct. JavaScript. So let's run again. If I take these two and put them here, do I get any logs? Aha. Okay. If I put the logs outside the function, or they work, so the function doesn't get called. You idiot. You numpty. What's the result of the log? If you don't trust the logs and they're failing you, use UI alert by plus. Oh my god. It logs outside their function but not inside. You have directly interfere the functions that are being entered. Since your execution log shows complete but the internal code does not run, this is always by one of the three. Oh my god. Selected in drop down. Okay. I didn't know that I needed to do that. I didn't know there was a drop down selection. All right. So console.log works. Okay. All right. We're getting somewhere. So now can I do range? I thought it was whichever I selected. I literally selected this function. So data. Run. Run. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. It's looking at the right data. Does that mean we're actually formatting something? No. So, amount cell, console.log, amount cell, oops, and symbol. Mount cell. Mount cell range, get cell, So info, it's all of this. Symbol. Nope. I hate that my normal keyboard shortcuts just don't work. It's, oh my god, this editor is so awkward. All right, symbol, blah, 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 sure. Symbol, cell. Okay, cell is the specific cell. Amount cell, blah, okay. Apply currency format. I mean, this is also really stupid, right? So what we really want is we want something like this. And I do not believe for a second that we cannot have multi-line statements like this. That is also AI hallucination stupidity. Currencies. We're going to make it an object and we're going to index it from USD. Yeah, let's capitalize it. And we're going to have... Is that a singular string? Right. So then we can just have this format string here. Formats. So we have USD. Yeah, I'm still trying to use my muscle memory and it's failing me. But so we can do this, right? Don't need that. Let's get rid of that, get rid of that. And then we're gonna have the amount cell. We're gonna have the symbol. Now the symbol is not the symbol. It's the amount. It's assuming this the currency is in front. Oh, it's so dumb. All right, so it'll be this. Yeah. So now we can also do format symbol. Instead of symbol, we're going to call it currency. And now if I run it, it'll get me the format strings. All right. And then this can be const again. And cell, we don't need to call it amount cell. There's no other cell here. And it'll be 0. No, 1. And then we can do cell dot. And then we don't need this awkward if statement. That's just silly. I'm gonna just do this. And now, if I do this, hey, look at that. All right, I'm gonna be really petty and rub it into the AI's face. But my code works fine. So we can just do this, boom, and then the currency is this, and that's just gonna go here. A nice semicolon because I'm not a heathen. You hear that? You hear that? People who don't use semicolons, heathens. All right. And this is supposed to be const. Boom. I deleted something here in the middle. I made a mess. So, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Leave that in a long format. Currency. Format. Actually, I'm gonna change the order. The cell is this. Currency is this. Format equals this. And rid of that. And that's a const. Boom, boom. All right. And range get cell data. All right, fair enough. And then we have this. Have I run this? Assign into constant variable. I'm not assigning to a constant variable. Oh. The I. Got weird. I haven't done a regular for loop in so long. Okay. This version works nicely. How can I make it do this automatically when I import CSV data from a file? On the app scripts editor, click the trigger alarm. Okay. Choose which workshop to run on existing. Add trigger. Run on existing. Select event source from spreadsheet. Select event type on change. Save and authorize script run. Okay, save. Okay, now the question is, will this work on other sheets? So for example, if we now say import, upload this, and then we'll say insert new sheet. Hey guys, and we'll do this. It didn't trigger. Huh? Ooh. It didn't trigger. Custom use import script, imported from option 2. I tried the event trigger come up, but it did not work when I imported CSV as a new sheet. Critical note on formatting custom. Because CSV imports often override and add columns, the unchanged trigger is the most reliable way to ensure you run existing projects and new data immediately. When else CSV import file do not fire standard triggers like unedited before the edit is performed in the system. Not this is error. So unchanged trigger can detect trigger. To fix this, you should replace the manual import process with a custom import function. Oh my god. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Too complicated. I'm happy to kind of just run the script once I do the import, and I might even figure out a way of doing it from, maybe I can just add a button or whatever. But this already works, and we have our US dollar formatting here. So this should be enough when I hand it over to the accountant, basically. So now the next step, and I'm probably going to stop the stream soon because Toby's back. The next step, that is not the right thing. I guess the problem is now we need to have the info for all of these. Okay, so let's clean up this code a little bit. So we'll just have a function here, maybe a function. Oh, sync function. Right. In CSV output, something like that, right? And we'll just say invoices, and we'll just say FN. And then we'll just do basically this. We just can do a return this. So then we can just do a wait. And I guess file name first makes sense. And we don't have to do these little details. Boom, 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 boom. can do config.outpath. Boom. Simple enough. All right. Boom. Output. No. We're not going to output here. All right. So next step is look at vendors again. Console.log. Vendors. Like that. Undefined. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this to a let, just so I can then fiddle with it after the fact, and then I can do invoices equals invoices dot map blah, right? So we have all the vendors here. We get rid of that filter, right? We get these vendors. Join and something like that, or even like that, or even like that. Right. So that's our list of vendors. Actually, I like better what we had here. So we're gonna go through this. We're gonna go. We're gonna do this. Vendor. No, we don't need to label it since we're gonna do a whole bunch of these, right? Vendor of vendors. Boom. Want that. Here we go. Right. And we can just do %s column per boom. Yeah. So we don't have vendor info for all of them. So let's have a look at something like _AA. So these, for example, would be, now we need to go to vendor info. So we have this receipt. So this would be euros, US tax. I don't think that counts for VAT. So this one is a weird one because they charge me in euros, but it's clearly not EU. So they just charge me in euros for some reason, but it's not like done through Europe. As far as I can tell. Weird. So American Airlines is gonna be euro, false, and 0 VAT rate. Support. Now the classification, I don't remember exactly if they gave me perfect guidelines on that. Apple could go either way. I think that's $99. So that would be $99. I'm just realizing there's my address on these, but I mean my address I don't think is a secret as such. So in alphabetical order, if we add something like Apple, boom, Apple, currency would be US dollars, tax is 0, issue is false. And this could be different from when Apple pays me, where it's possible that that they have a payment entity in Ireland, which is in the EU and all this stuff. But what we can do is we can look at, before we do all of this, if I look at vendor info, if I say object.keys vendor info, then we have 4. And if I say dot filter invoice dot and we'll say, we can just say blah 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 dot vendor, basically just filter by vendors that exist in vendor info. We can do this vendor boom. And we actually could do this just down here. Boom. Because that means I can slowly add them in, but this output is always going to have all of them in there, right? So now we have Apple. So now we can look at AWS. Now AWS, I think, bill me via their Irish entity. So for example, this would be one of the hosting invoices. They have my old address on here. That's also horrible. Let me just do update address for AWS billing. I don't know if that makes an invoice invalid if their address is wrong. So this is euro, and the funny thing is the breakdown is in US dollars. But they do include a zero rate VAT number. So I'm guessing this is Luxembourg, not even Ireland. All right, that's interesting. So that means no, not that. If I go here and we're at AWS, the currency will be in euro, even though the breakdown is in US dollars, which is interesting. This will be true. That rate will be 0, and that'll be IT services because it's hosting, right? So now if we go back to here, we now have AWS included, right? And then something like Backblaze, I don't actually know if they're European or... So Backblaze is a backup service. Here it says San Francisco, but they have a VAT number, which is confusing. And they claim to include 18% VAT. So Backblaze, but that's weird. So currency here is in USD. So for example, this one is $232.02, right? So this would be false. VAT rate is 18%. This is bizarre. So this is what I'm looking at from Backblaze, and they don't have any direct information from me. So they include the 80% multi-VAT in US dollars. But they do have a VAT identifier. So that's strange, isn't it? I don't know. I'll have to ask the accountant about that. I don't know if it makes a difference. It might not make a difference for the VAT. It might make a difference for the taxes. So now, for something like Booking is a bit tricky because Booking, I don't know if Booking will always be wherever Booking bills me from, or if it depends what I'm paying. Like if I'm paying a hotel. Wait, but this hotel... I need to look into that because I might not have paid Booking.com for the hotel. I might have paid the hotel directly. So let me add this as a to-do item. Check ibis/booking invoice/ and payment. So that one might be wrong because I don't actually have an invoice yet. It's literally like I saved the email because maybe I couldn't like the booking confirmation, but now I'm realizing I should have asked for an invoice from the hotel. I'll have to look into that. I'm still not done, and I have to do 5 years and VAT and income tax. I have to do this 10 times, and a lot of the other years are actually more complicated than this because in this year I haven't actually earned that much. So on the income side, it's much less complicated. 1 second. So let's see. Let's skip controls. Let's do some of the easier ones like Dropbox. So those should be a lot clearer. Dropbox, I'm guessing, is a US company. No, Dropbox International Unlimited company. So they have unlimited, really. So they're billing me from Dublin. So that's in euros, 18% VAT. And so Dropbox, it's in euro, is used true, and it's 18%, and it's IT services. So the moment I save, this will refresh, and Dropbox is now included. All right. Let us also say, let's also report on missing vendors. So these are existing vendors. These are total vendors. Sorry, not existing. These are vendors that are that have info. Vendor info. So if I say vendors vendors.filter vendor, and then we can say that dot includes vendor, and we'll negate that. And then we can say missing vendor info for, right? And we can dot join that missing vendor info for booking conference epic blah blah blah. Right. Let's do one more and then I'll call it an end. GitHub. So GitHub, I presume, would be also EU based. No, it's in dollars and out of San Francisco. So I'm wrong again. So last one, we're doing GitHub. It's in US dollars. Issue is false, and they do not include VAT. Boom. So now it should say missing vendors for blah. Okay. Now I find this a little bit harder to see. Maybe we can do. Maybe I can include that here. So we can say if I do this, object here vendor info includes, we'll do nothing else, we'll do missing vendor info. Right, and then we don't have to do this, don't have to do any of that, don't need that, go this. So it'll now tell us which ones are missing, and then go through these one by one. So for example, go, I was gonna say I already know because they are local and they charge me VAT, except they might not be charging me VAT. I think they do actually. Yeah, because I don't have all of those invoices, fortunately. No, they do charge me 18%, right? So we can add Go, which is in euro, and it's a local company, so it's in Europe. VAT rate is 0.18. And I need to be careful that I don't write 18 when I mean to write 0.18. 0.18. All right. And that is, well, it's IT. I was going to write telecommunications, but is internet access IT service or telecommunications? IT service is probably good enough. Boom. So now we have a couple of Go ones in here, and so on and so forth. And now I'm just going to have to do the rest of them, basically. Oh joy, oh joy. But you know, if YouTube channel, you can call me Marta. She involved several times each video, usually when Penmark checker tells her to remove candidates. Involves you several times. What do you mean by involves? Let's check her out. You can call me Martha. I think I might be familiar with that. Her. You can call me Martha. Oh yeah. I've heard she has a bit of a potty mouth. But if you do know, she involves you several times each valid when your Penmark checker tells her to remove candidates. Yeah, I haven't had much time to check her out, but I like new channels that use the app. Like, I've had an email recently, a company offering to make videos using my tool, and I'm like, I don't need that. There's like dozens of new videos coming up every single day, probably, and probably a few more that I don't even know about. So, all right, short one today. I started too late. I'll tell you the stuff. These tax things are killing me. The only way I'm getting through it is start by solving some of the problems with programming. Thank God I don't have to actually use paper. All right, that's it for today. It's a bit of a weird one. I don't usually, I try to avoid doing my admin stuff, but in the moment, 90% of the work I need to do is basically admin, and it's. I know it's not super interesting, but you know, I'm writing some code, and sometimes this is the stuff I gotta do. Well, thanks for hanging out, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Oh, and don't forget SudokuCon coming up in end of July. Hope to see you guys there. I'll definitely be there. Yeah. Oh yeah, because you're on your phone, right? Thanks for hanging out, Keith.